a lot of people say, well, this is a lot like Gutenberg's Bible, what's going on, the first printing press and so on. I don't think that's an accurate analogy. I think Gutenberg's Bible was more like the first, I think it was the Harvard, was it Mark computer, Mark I? I forget the name of it, but that original computer that, they made, okay? That's what Gutenberg's printing press was like in reality. There weren't that many of them. The vast majority of people could not read. Books were still the property of popes and cardinals and kings and princes. The more accurate analogy is the late 19th century. Okay, what happened in the late 19th century? Well, because of a coming together of a lot of different things, all of a sudden print became very cheap. We see print everywhere, and we assume that it's always been ubiquitous, and we assume that newspapers and magazines have always been around. The fact of the matter is that's not true. We did not really have an explosion of print and print as a mass medium until post-Civil War. For example, in 1850, there were 254 newspapers in the United States total. Okay? 50 years later, there were 2,600 daily newspapers, 520 Sunday newspapers, and 15,500 weekly newspapers. Before the Civil War, most families were lucky to have a single Bible, and it was a family Bible, and it was passed down from generation to generation. Okay? After the Civil War, you had a thing called the Sears Catalog, okay, in which a company very intelligently realized, hey, we've got this printing deal that's really cheap, we've got this postal system that's incredible, we've got this railroad system, let's give out some amazing free thing, the Sears Catalog, put it in everyone's home, and create a vast selling tool with that. But that couldn't happen until after the Civil War. And the last thing I want to say, and then we'll go on to our internet program. Look at the old timers. Look at the old mediums. For instance, we think America Online is such a hot thing because you can get electronic mail, and you can play games, and you can chat with people, and you can read the news, right? All these amazing things. 100 years ago, the country store. You get your mail, you read the news, you chat about things, you play checkers on the checker, on the cheese barrel, whatever. We're basically just recreating something that we already had in electronic form. And then the other thing that I would recommend that you look into is think about the Sears Catalog. Think about the idea of, in 1885, of giving away this marvelous print thing that was so intrinsically interesting that people loved just to page through it and happened to buy millions and millions of dollars of goods as a result of paging through this product. The internet makes the distribution of digital goodies extremely easy. And then the last thing that I want to leave, I always like to tell people about this because everybody missed it. This was the big story that everyone missed this year. There was an invention 150 years ago that made railroad travel possible. It made mass production possible. It forced the creation of this thing called standardized time and wristwatches and pocket watches. It was the precursor of the telephone. It was what it created recorded music. What else? It created broadcasting. One invention. All those things flow directly out of this one invention. Does anyone know what it is? 150th anniversary this year. What's that? Telegraph. I mean, it's just so many amazing things came out of this. A lot of people don't know that recorded music. Edison was not trying to record music. He was trying to make a way to automatically relay telegraph messages. That little wax cylinder was meant to record dots, dots, and dashes. You were going to pull that cylinder out, stick it in a machine, and it would replay the dots, and dashes so that the message didn't have to be hand relayed. The telephone was originally an attempt to have many, many messages, telegraph messages on a single line. And they discovered, wow, we can actually put a voice through this as well. And on and on and on. You couldn't have high-speed train travel until you had a telegraph. Because you couldn't send a train barreling down a track at 60 miles an hour unless you knew with some degree of certainty what was going on about a half hour away or an hour away. And mass production came directly from Chicago. The meat industry realized, hey, we could take all these cows, put them on a train, feed them all in one place, dress them and send them out all at once. Henry Ford didn't invent mass production. Henry Ford studied with Richard Sears. He went to his catalog company and saw how Richard Sears handled tens of thousands of orders a day. And Richard Sears went to the stockyards and the slaughterhouses of Chicago and saw how mass production worked. So the telegraph really produced just about everything that we know today. And this year it's 150th anniversary. And I think it's fitting that this is the first year that the internet can really be looked at as not just a random, or not a random collection, but collection of networks, but actually a medium unto itself that could probably produce as many or maybe more changes in our life. So, rest of our program will be Mark Graham, who's going to bring everybody up to speed on the internet. So if you're an internet guru, you'll still learn stuff, because Mark knows a lot about the internet. And if you don't know anything at all about the internet, he gives the best introduction to the internet I've ever heard in my life. It's marvelous. Is that enough pressure for you? And then after Mark's done that, Mark Andreessen from Mosaic is going to talk about Mosaic and Netscape and maybe some of their plans for the future, who knows. And then we're going to have a panel of people that are taking this new medium and doing something with it. So we're going to have a little 5-minute break to give Mark a chance to set up his equipment, and let's get started. Thanks.